Ah, the spring. It's nice to be here finally. After dealing with the winter, which feels like hell, I say that specifically as a Canadian. It's nice to just be here in this nice, overall good weather. Except as a Canadian, it's still, there's still snow outside, it's still cold. But for most people, around this time, it'll get real nice outside. And hey, along with this, we can look back at what happened on all those snowy days and everything. Or rather, I can. That's what I'm going to be doing today, is I'm going to be looking back at everything that happened during those snowy days for me. Because it's me talking about the winter of 2023. And also technically 2022, rather the last bit of December, but 2023, winter. So let's talk about it, like always. Let's talk about what happened this month, or season, whatever we're going to call it. I finished Sonic Frontiers. It's pretty damn good. It's pretty fucking good. It's a really good game. Very good contender for a top 5. Probably in the top 5. It's good. Play it.
Shadow Wizard Money Gang. We love casting spells.
So because of a whole show exchange that I've been doing with friends, similar to what I've mentioned in the past, I got to experience Dorohedoro. And this is certainly an interesting series. I will say, it started off slow. The first few episodes that I watched, it was interesting, I guess, but with the little amount that was explained and just shit that was happening, it was very confusing and I didn't know how to feel. But as soon as episode 4 or 5 hit and I got further in from there, it got very enjoyable, and it's a really damn great show. The power system type of thing in there is certainly really interesting, and the characters there, very fucking lovable. Like, honestly, there's a lot of shows we're going to be talking about with this video, and a lot of them have this similar thing of, I do not hate any of these characters in here. From a writing standpoint, I like all of them, right? Dorohedoro is the exact same. I liked pretty much every character here. Some of them I loved, but it's really interesting that they're able to do this. It's really interesting that we have multiple shows like this in here, but obviously we'll get to the rest later. I think the only problem, though, character-wise with Dorohedoro is, and this is a complaint that one of my friends listed, which honestly I agree, is that a lot of characters feel very black and white in terms of their motives and where they align and everything. It's not that bad, like, that's fine. It's just, I don't know, that's almost a little off-putting in terms of liking them and everything, because it's like, I do like them a whole lot, and it doesn't really change it too much, but it does kind of feel like, okay, I know how this is going to play out then, right? I know how this is going to play out for the protagonist side. I know how this will play out for the antagonist side. It's clear what's going to happen here. I'm excited to read it some more and everything, because I mean, at the moment I've only watched what was available in terms of season 1, and who knows if we'll even get a season 2. But I do plan on reading it at some point. I got a big reading backlog, so I do certainly want to get to it, but it's behind a few things. It's behind a few series that I want to start, and then depending on what I want to just continue with in terms of shows that I want to continue with and everything, we'll see where it goes from there. But overall, Dorohedoro was a very enjoyable show. It was weird, it was great, a lot of characters were really damn good. Shin and Noi, I believe was her name. Honestly, it's been a bit since I've seen it, so I actually don't fully remember her name. But those two were really damn great. They might honestly be my favorite characters in the show. They're just really damn good. Yeah, overall, fantastic characters. Weird but interesting powers and just general world going on. Overall, a really weird but very interesting show, and I really am excited to see more. It'll just be a bit, but I'm sure I will update you all on what I think once we get to that end of this journey. I actually don't have much to say for our spoiler section here, but overall there is a few things I could mention. Shin and Noi, like I mentioned, were really damn great, and I especially love their backstory episode, just learning more about them, how they came in contact with N, or I guess specifically more so Shin, and just where this leads to and everything. It's very damn interesting, especially Shin. Shin's whole backstory area was really damn interesting. Nikaido having this moment there where essentially she's, being transferred over to En's side because of the whole contract type of thing they're doing there and everything. But the way that scene is done, in my opinion, is honestly really fucking, well done, because it's showing this kind of creepy scenario where we're witnessing one of our main characters on the protagonist side, right? We're witnessing one of them being transferred over against their will, all this shit, right? All this stuff's happening, and it's really interesting that for this scene they choose some little bit goofy but light-hearted music. As much as you could see that as they didn't really make some huge music choice here, in my opinion that's actually really well done, solely for the fact that it actually makes it way more creepy. You're putting this light-hearted music on a scene that is kind of fucked in terms of the scenario and the character and all this. It's honestly a good choice for music. It's well done. Overall, I did really like that, and what they do from Nikaido, from there on, is very damn interesting, right? This is what has me curious to read, is what the fuck's gonna happen from here, right? There's a lot there that I want to learn more about. Also, I really love the baseball episode. It's just common for a lot of shows that just have random baseball episodes for those to just be good usually, and yeah, this show's no exception. It's good. It's nice. But anyways, yeah, on to whatever comes next. Ranking of Kings is a show I watched 2 episodes of, and then I really enjoyed it, but I forgot. Ranking of Kings is a show that I watched 2 episodes of, and I really enjoyed it, and then I forgot to continue for a month or 2. I'm being serious about that, by the way. You could even check my Twitter. There's a decent gap from the first few times I'm talking about it to the next point that I'm talking about it, and that's not even me not enjoying the show or anything. It's just straight up from the first tweet to the one where I started watching again. That really is how long it took for me to get back to watching it, essentially. It took a while. I don't know why, really. I could have watched it at any point, but I just felt yeah, I'll get to it. I'll go back and watch it. But anyways, Ranking of Kings is a really damn great show. I regret putting this down after 2 episodes and being this is really good, I'll get to it some more later, and then taking forever. I regret that, because this is a really well done show. First of all, animation, beautiful. It's done by Wit Studio, who did Spy Family. I think they might have even done Bocchi. I don't fully remember if they did Bocchi, but I think they might have. And overall, very nice here, right? Animation's beautiful here. It's so damn stylized and so damn I almost want to say it's very storybook-esque, right, with how it's done, right? This is a children's storybook almost with how it's drawn, which works with the story going on. But I like it, right? It's a very good style to it. Very nice. Characters. I mentioned it with Dorohedoro, but once again, another show where I don't dislike any of these characters. They're all good. I like them a lot. There's just a lot here that's really nice. Music is beautiful. This whole scenario that plays out is really damn great. I will say, I have a minor complaint here. First half of it, don't get me wrong, is really good. But the second half of this show is so much fucking better. I still really like the first half, but there were moments where certain things almost felt black and white in terms of what was going on, right? The scenario playing out. Certain characters with how they were acting. In terms of what happened later, it's clear that some things, obviously from what I judged, were wrong. But some things did kind of just feel like that, and they stayed like that. And it was a bit odd to me, because it's just you're making these characters really interesting, and you're adding a whole lot here that's cool, and all these backstories and everything. And it's interesting they do this well of a job, because this isn't something that's not been done before, right? This general setting of here's these kings, this medieval type of area, or it's interesting because this isn't something that hasn't been done before, you know, like this whole medieval era, kings, all this, here's some weird beasts, magic, all this type of shit, right? This has been done many times, but they do make it interesting enough with their characters and everything that feels very unique. But with the first half, like the complaints I mentioned, there are moments where it does almost feel very simple. And for the most part, that doesn't happen. But there are times where it feels like that, and it's kind of unfortunate. But then you get to the second half of the show, and that shit is just good. That shit is just really damn good. Like, to be honest, if the first half was as good as the second half, which, like I said, is still very good, if it was as good, this would genuinely be a, like, contender for my top 10. This would be a fantastic show. And hey, it's still ongoing. There's likely going to be more seasons. There's going to be more that I get out of this, which is great. I will get to see more, and I will be way more happy seeing all this shit play out. Probably. I don't assume that the show is going to drop in quality, but it could. I really hope not. But hey, who knows? Overall, I'm very excited to see where we go from here. And yeah, Ranking of Kings is pretty damn good. Alright, spoiler section, because I want to talk about a lot. Okay, where do we begin here? Boji and his general technique, this very pacifist feeling type of thing, is really well done, right? I like that he has the rapier as a more kind way of fighting, right? He's gonna fight, but it's a much more kind way of fighting, and it's a weapon that suits him in terms of what he can handle and all this, right? It's great. It's also nice that he, general from hand-to-hand combat, he can actually do it pretty well in terms of being a pacifist, but also specifically, and this is a detail I really like, he punches like a few of the people who are like obviously set up to be there, but he punches them specifically on like the lower part of the chin, and that's really well done, because that is a legitimate place that if you get punched, you're fucked. So it's really interesting that they, you know, kept that in mind there. I like that a lot. Overall, like, Boji's a great character here. I do love this courageous type of build-up with him, right? He's very much, and I'm not saying that, or as much as this might sound bad, I'm not trying to say this in a bad sense, but in the beginning, he is very much a crybaby. It makes sense, he's a kid, he's not exactly the strongest and all sorts of shit, so it's kind of a scenario where, yeah, he's gonna end up like this. He also watched his mom die in a fucking brutal way, like, holy shit. So it's fairly justified. But we get to the point where, you know, later and later with the show, we see him build up his courage more and more, and he's just ready to fight and all this. He gains what it truly means to be a king and all this, and we get to the point where he fights his dad, and that's a really damn cool scene. Like, obviously it's his dad in his brother's body, but with the way, you know, they perfectly picture it, it's as if he's actually fighting his dad, and it's a really cool scenario. I love that a lot. But overall, Boji gets a lot of great building here. Kage is also great. I will say, Kage is almost like lesser in a way, because he's still great, don't get me wrong, right? Good character right there. I like how they build him as well. But compared to Boji, like, Kage gets his backstory as early as episode 2, and he gets more building, of course, as we go on, but it's not the same type of level that Boji gets, right? So it's kind of unfortunate there that it's like, yeah, it is not as much though. He gets to turn into this big fucking like shadow creature in the middle of the fight with the like immortal dude who I don't necessarily remember the name of, but that dude was awesome. But he turns into a big shadow creature and tries to grab him, and that's like, oh shit, he's doing something, and then he gets stabbed, and it's like, oh, okay, he's dead, except he's not dead. But damn, I don't know what the fuck that was about. That was cool, but there it goes. And like, yeah, I don't know, that's That was a weird scenario to me, because that's like almost a big reveal for something, and then that's it, right? There's a lot of characters that I could list in terms of building that I really like here, because it's like the 4 guards, and then there's Boji's dad, and all these sort of characters. There's a lot I could list, but if I had to narrow it down to just one more example, because I don't think we want to stay here for a long time just discussing these characters, I'd probably have to say Miranjo. Holy shit. The amount of building she gets, this is like, at the start, right? When we get to the first half, right? The first few episodes, all this, first 10, whatever it may be, she seemed like this almost mustache twirler villain in the mirror, right? It's kind of clear that, like, it's overall her throughout the scenes we see where it's like this hooded person and everything. Part of that might be because I'm very good at recognizing VAs and I, hear the similar voice, but also part of that is just like, okay, there's a general hint there that, yeah, these are all the same people, all this, and eventually, yeah, you see it. But at a later point, we get this stuff relating to her backstory, all this sort of shit, right? We learn more about her and the relationships she had and everything. And on the one hand, she's like cruel with certain things, right? There's certain parts to her that are definitely cruel. But on the other, her mom brutally fucking died, right? Her and her mom were just like outcasts in the area they were in. They got used constantly, right? She, like, her mother was very kind and, tried to give people money and all this sorts of shit, right? Because she thought they were poor. In reality, they were just robbing her. And then they kill her mother, and then they skin Miranjo's face, and she's still alive, but they skin her face. That is horrific. I know this like type of thing's been done before, technically, right? Like, this isn't the first anime to do that or anything, but regardless, that is still a horrific thing to have happen. Should be obvious. And it's just interesting to see how they build her more and more. And, the scenes with Boji and all this kind of help build a much more human side to her as we're getting closer to the end. And then eventually, it's thanks to everybody there that she's back, and now she's going to be the future wife of Boji's brother, which is certainly interesting. But overall, very good characters. Like them a lot. Like the building here. Honestly, all of them, like I said, are just really damn good. It's great. I like it.
Boobies.
So over the course of this winter, I had watched Kill la Kill, thanks to a whole show exchange type of thing that I've been doing for a while now. And, right off the bat, I just have to say it because I feel like it should be said. It should be a little obvious, but Gurren Lagann is my 4th favorite show, which is a weird segue to do, I know, but here's the thing. Gurren Lagann is my 4th favorite show. It is fantastic, it is goofy, it's corny, but holy shit, I absolutely love it. It is a fantastic show. So not surprisingly, I watched Kill la Kill, and that show also enters my top 10, albeit in the 10th spot, because while I do think it's really damn good, I don't think it surpasses the other shows I have on there, so I think it's fair there. But I watched Kill la Kill, and I just gotta say, holy shit, like, I know, Studio Trigger / Gainax show, it's fair to assume something very strong, right? It's fair to assume something over the top that makes fun of a bunch of tropes, does a lot of cool shit, whole bunch of stuff, right? Acts all goofy. It's great, right? Love their shows for that. But this one, of course, also follows that formula. And to a really great degree of, it feels like it's making fun of the tropes that it's using, which it obviously is. A lot of the points, they are making fun of those tropes. But at some points, it feels like they're kind of encouraging it, almost. It's a weird blend, but it works really well. Also, this is the final show here where, once again, every character here I just absolutely loved. There was not a single character I did not enjoy. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say, like, unlike the previous 2 shows, right, which, not to call them bad with their characters or anything, right, I still enjoyed all the characters there, but I think here is the biggest example of that. I found every character to be great. There were moments with just the show as well as it kind of affected, in a way, how I viewed a character, Raggio, I believe is how you pronounce it. But she's a great villain overall and everything. I like her a lot. But here's the thing. I'm cool with them making fun of tropes, having some fun with it, being goofy, having these weird, transformation scenes that are very profound. But incest-related scenes, or what you could include as that, it's a little weird. I chose to just let it be there, and I'm just not gonna fully acknowledge it, while watching and also thinking about the show. I prefer not to, and I mean, it doesn't happen that much, but when it does, it's weird. It's definitely my only con with the show, is it could definitely do without that, even if it was making fun of tropes or some shit, which I don't even know what tropes it really would be making fun of. Still weird to see. So, yeah, but overall, fantastic characters here. Very over the top and goofy and just generally great. Real fucking blast here, honestly. Like, that's the easiest way to word it. This was a real blast. It's also really funny that my favorite Gurren character is voicing the mother of my favorite character in Kill la Kill. I absolutely love Mako. Holy shit. Right, going into the show and just watching a few episodes, I didn't know who was going to be my favorite character because a lot of people were just really great here. Mako easily won. Mako very easily won. There was a few others. Who really came close. But she just wins. She just wins in that regard for me. But overall, this was a very fun time. Kill la Kill is a just fantastic show. And as long as you don't think too much of those scenes like I did, we just pretend that they're there, and that's it. And we just go past them and continue watching. Overall, it genuinely is a really fucking fantastic show. It's very good. I'm glad that Studio Trigger just pushes out fantastic original series. It's nice. It's nice. It's definitely impressive. Yeah, sorry, this entire section is just going to be spoiler-filled because really, we did Breaking Bad before in previous talked about videos, so really this is just a continuation. So anyways, I have now officially seen Season 4 of Breaking Bad, Season 5, and El Camino. And, wow, okay. So, overall, actually I guess Season 3 is also in there because technically speaking, I talked about a little bit of it, I think, last time. We talked about a few episodes in there, I believe. But not that full thing, I don't think. So, Season 4, also, the little bit of Season 3 there, and everything. Season 5, all this shit. What did I think? It was really damn good. Right? Like, Breaking Bad, I was already really enjoying. It was definitely a show that did a good job at being very dramatic and having these good tones in there, all this shit. Fantastic camera work, fantastic lighting, like everything to be perfect about a scene and to allude to shit and have great connections in plot points and all this with characters, all that. Great building of characters, right? I was already really enjoying it. But, like, especially with, Season 4 and Season 5, it was fantastic. I remember hearing that Season 5, during the general, beginning of it, it would be slower and everything, it wouldn't be as good. But I don't know. I watched that and went, no, I like this because of what it's doing. Because a large part of Season 4 and Season 5, and even earlier, of course, right? Even Season 3 is like this, but still, it's building up over time, is the obvious building towards Walt being the villain here, right? Like the proper one. And this is what I really liked with Season 5. Because when you get Season 4, right, it's this building blocks type of point, and from the general perspective they're painting for you, Gus seems like the villain there. He seems like the one doing all the horrible shit. I mean, he's doing some bad shit, but it seems like a lot of the stuff that's happening is just solely him, like nothing else, right? Especially the stuff involving Brock, right? Brock getting the, ricin poisoning, which is actually, from that flower. It seems like this is all just, Gus doing all this shit and everything. And he knew about that and all this because of his, massive amount of intel, people always watching, all that type of shit. But then we get to, the final scene of Season 4, and we get into season 5, and a lot of stuff becomes a lot more clear of, oh, yeah, Gus is bad, but to be honest, he doesn't seem as nearly bad as Walt. Like, Walt is a piece of shit by that point. And not even just that point, just season 4 as well. Asshole, right? And that is the absolute point for me where I just stopped rooting for him, right? I mean, season 3, it was lessening. It was definitely lessening. But 4 was the point for me. It was just like, okay, yeah, no, this is it. As it just went on, as I watched more episodes, I'm like, yeah, that's it. So then season 5 comes along, and you get this build up with Hank and everything, right? Trying to find out more about him, all this type of shit happening, right? Like, everything that happens here overall. Like, also the stuff with, like, Mike and the people in prison, right? These people that they have to just keep this info safe and everything. A lot of this is just, like, really good on building up all this, like, building Walt as a proper villain here. Because then, you know, we get what happens in the prison thanks to, like, Todd and his, like, uncle and their group and everything. And by the way, Todd, a very interesting character, because this is a character who isn't necessarily wrong. Like, he is. Hear me out on this, right? He is. But it's more so with the way he was raised, with the people he was raised around. This is a whole thing that leads into, yeah, he wouldn't really have any sympathy or empathy or anything like that towards, you know, killing people, all this sort of shit, right? So it's interesting. This is a very neat character to build there, and I like it. I like that he got to be a big focus, because it's an interesting character to build. But we get that stuff, you know, with the prison and everything, with Mike, and it's a great way of just making Walt kind of realize how, you know, the focus he is on, like, his money and everything, which it doesn't change, of course, but there's that, plus the general thing of Mike trying to really drill into his head that, hey, you might have killed the big head honcho, but it's not like this is going to be easy. Like, Gus built this shit up over time for a while, right? We learned from the flashback that this has been going on for a while. So it's not like you're going to immediately make success. But then we get the stuff with Hank, of course, which is really great, in building, like, him and Jesse trying to finally get Walt. But then you get that, like, really bittersweet moment where it doesn't fucking work out, right? Like, they pretty much have him there. They're about to, you know, fully arrest him, bring him back, all this shit, and then Hank and his buddy die, and it's just like, oh, okay. And then Jesse gets captured, and oh my god, Jesse here. Like, okay, Jesse's still my favorite character out of Breaking Bad. You know, I'll see with Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul, I'm gonna actually wait till the last season's on Netflix, just because that's the way I'm watching it. So I have to wait for that shit to drop to fully watch that. It'll be a while till we talk about it. But Jesse, at the moment, is easily my favorite character in the series. And watching season 5, like, season 4 was already painful sometimes, but, like, season 5 was just fucking agonizing to have him as my favorite character, because everything that happens here to him just sucks. And it's like, and sucks in a good way, don't get me wrong. And just seeing that moment where he, like, strangles Todd to death felt so cathartic. It was like, holy shit, I am so happy this is happening. Like, oh my god, thank god he got to do it. Like, everything's pretty much ruined for him at this point, although we see that that's not the case with El Camino. El Camino was actually pretty damn great in wrapping up his story in a nice way. I liked it. I was told that it wouldn't be anything super insane or wouldn't add much to Breaking Bad, but to be honest, I watched it and I liked it. It felt like it added a lot more to Jesse as a character, give him a proper end that didn't feel, you know, sucky. It just felt like happy overall. It wasn't perfect, right? His life at the moment isn't perfect, but he got to properly start his life over overall. So it's nice. But seeing him in season 5 hurt a whole lot. Just everything that happens there, that shit hurt. And it was very interesting to see Walt in the last, like, 2 episodes kind of change as a person. He's still the, like, general person he kind of is, but, like, he feels a lot more understanding of things. He fully knows why he did what he did, right? Like, he has the general understanding, he's accepted it. It's not some coping to say it's something else or anything like that, right? He understands that he liked it, right? Like he says. But all that sort of shit, right? A whole bunch of stuff there is just like, it feels like a full acceptance of everything that happens for him, and I do like that a lot. And of course, you know, it ends off with his death, but it's great. I genuinely like that ending a lot, because it feels like, you know, now he's fully accepted who he is, and there he goes, right? It's a proper finish to his character, and I like that a lot. Overall, this was really fucking fantastic. These 3 seasons were beautiful. I really enjoyed Gus, by the way. That's something else I actually should have mentioned, was Gus and Mike as well. But both of them here with season 4 and season 5 were really great. I mean, Mike more so with season 5. Gus is, you know, kind of a half a person by that point. Actually, probably less. But, you know, I enjoyed them a lot with season 4 and Mike in season 5 and all that. There's a lot there that I just really enjoy, and I know I'll see more of them in Better Call Saul. I'm very excited for that. But yeah, I liked seeing them a whole lot here. That was very interesting to see how they developed and built on their characters. I like that. But overall, this was fantastic, and I can absolutely see why people praise this show. It was just real damn good. But hey, we'll be back to this, I guess, in the future when I get to Saul. I don't have a different sword this time, so we don't have some special intro like before. I can't really bring the Sode no Shirayuki or Tensa Zangetsu, so, you know, it's just me here with no sword. But welcome back to the Bleach journey. I've officially read Thousand Year Blood War at this point. In fact, when I mentioned the fact that I started progress towards, you know, taking this next step, what I meant by that was I started, and then the day or two after, I finished. So really, I could have actually kind of added that onto that video if I felt like waiting a few more days. But at that point, winter technically really started. So I don't think that fully counts. But anyways, we're here now. Thousand Year Blood War. I have read it. I have a lot to say, and I have a lot I want to generally speak about in terms of what I'd like to see with the anime. But let's get into that first part, right? The stuff I'd like to say. I'm going to be a lot more brief with this because, to be honest, listen, I love talking about Bleach, right? Third favorite series. Love this shit. But last time, that took up more than half of the talk about video. I don't think I want to do that again. Like, I know this is the usual thing with the Bleach section, kinda, because the first time we did this, it was like half an hour, I think. I don't know. But generally speaking, I don't want to take up half of the fucking video just speaking about Bleach. So we're going to be a lot more brief here in terms of talking about it. This isn't like the ReZero reviews. We're not spending hours just talking about this shit. So, Thousand Year Blood War. I'm going to split this up into a few sections. We're going to talk about the general start of it, right? Start as in, you know, where the anime leaves off. That part. I'm going to talk about the Squad Zero and also Yuhabaha's, like, kind of royal guard there, right? Those people. We're going to talk about that as a section there. And then I'm just going to go with the last section of the final battle. That one will be very short because that's not very long. That's definitely something I got to talk about later. But, first part. So, when we get back from the anime, right, we get a bunch of just fights generally going on because the war kind of starts up again. These fights are weird for me. A lot of them I did really like, right? Rukia's was great. Renji's was great. All this sort of shit, right? A lot of them were really great. I especially love the, like, zombie fight right? That one was very interesting. It even brought in the Iran cars, which was great, and that was a great point to bring in the Iran cars, because I know, like, yeah, they definitely be strong and they might not be affected by this whole thing, but also the whole kind of plot point of how hollows and stuff like that affect Quincy's and such, not a bad idea to bring them in, of course. But there's a lot of fights that happen here that are pretty damn interesting and great. Now, that said, some of them go by very fucking quickly. Like, not all of them, right? Like, I think Kenpachi's had a good amount of time, right? I think that one was great. Renji's had a good amount of time, but it definitely could have been a bit longer. Rukia's, I like a lot, but it is kind of short. At least it felt that way to me. It felt kind of short. And I know it's the general thing of, like, finally she gets to have, you know, her proper power to her Zanpakuto, and she gets her Bankai, which I finally get to see. I already knew about it, but I finally get to actually see it. It's wonderful. But it still feels generally kind of short there and everything. There's a few fights that just happen around here that are really short. Soifon, oh my god, Soifon, it gets arguably a very sad fight because it is just so short with how quickly it goes by, right? And she gets her Bankai back. She fully masters her Shunko and all that, and it's like, it's really cool. And then this fight really doesn't, like, end well for her. I mean, it ends out alright, but, like, overall it's not really super great for her, and it's just like, man, you didn't have to fuck over Soifon that hard and everything. There's a few characters who have that kind of scenario, right? Toshiro kind of gets fucked over, mainly because he gets this big cool moment and then is immediately turned into a zombie, and he gets a cool moment later, of course, but it's just like, damn, right? Wish he got more. Overall, there's some fights here that are really damn great, and generally I would say this might be the strongest point of Thousand Year Blood War in terms of, you know, where the anime left off, which makes sense because this isn't the later points where Kubo's health was kind of, you know, iffy and everything, so it made sense on why certain parts later were rushed. But here, there's definitely some parts that could be improved, but overall, pretty damn great. So then we move on to the Squad Zero section, and I will say this, the Squad Zero part of this, I did really enjoy, because it shows how strong Squad Zero is and how impressive they are and everything, but as well as it shows how strong the Royal Guard is, and I really fucking love that. And then we get Ichibe and his fight against Yuhabaha, and honestly, that fight, I'm very fucking excited to see animated. Like, I feel like the next core will probably end off before that fight starts, most likely. It might not. If it's in there, I will be very happy, but I feel like it'll stop before that, so that's kind of unfortunate. I'll have to wait even longer, but that fight is so fucking good. Like, that was a very entertaining fight to read. I enjoyed that a lot. Ichibe definitely has a fantastic fight there. Like, easily the strongest part of that section, right? But general, just like simple stuff that goes on here, right? Like, there is a part, of course, with Ichigo attacking the Soul King because, like, Yuhabaha kind of commands it. That part I would maybe like a little bit more with the anime, just because it's like, it makes sense on why and how, but a little bit more information into this could just be helpful overall. It's a little weird, but that's about it. It's also kind of weird that in that section, everybody's like pushed away and now we have to go all the way back. But then, you know, we get Grimjo and Nell and they're cool, but I have a complaint to make regarding them later. And then we get to our general, like, you know, fighting the Royal Guards and everything, like, properly. And that part is weird, because the Royal Guard fights are pretty damn good for the most part. But they have moments where they kind of fall off a bit, right? Let's just generally list them, right? The fight with Mayuri and all that, right? That's a good fight. Honestly, I wouldn't say it falls off too much, except I feel like the climax could be a little bit better, right? I do like that, like, Nemu sacrifices himself and everything, and that leads into the guard there that they're fighting dying, right? I like that a lot, but there's certain moments of it. I don't know how to fully describe it, to be honest, but there's certain moments with that where I feel like there should just be more to it a little bit. The other example is, of course, Shunsui. His fight is weird because it's good. It's really good, but there's certain moments where, for example, like the light gets reflected thanks to Nanao's Zanpakuto, right, that they like reveal and everything. By the way, Zanpakuto spirits being canon and everything and getting like more info with that, all that shit, really damn cool. I mean, like, it makes sense. Zanpakuto spirits, of course, would be canon. We have Zangetsu and all that, like both of them technically, which I know, you know, one of them do Habaha, but like still. So it makes sense that yes, of course, a Zanpakuto spirit would exist with everybody. Definitely a plot point we gotta get to later. But that is really damn interesting with like what it does and everything, because it's like, oh shit, that's the actual design from the filler. That's it. That's his, like, Shunsui's Zanpakuto design. And you know, we get Nanao's Zanpakuto and she reflects the light, and that's really cool. But then we get the moment after that where that doesn't end the fight, and then we get Kira showing up for literally just this scene to show that he's still alive and he takes care of all this shit falling down, right? Really weird. I don't know how I feel about that. Speaking of falling down, I did actually miss a certain point. I do kind of like that, you know, with Aizen, right? Because the big thing here is Aizen just being unsealed and all that. I do love that he handles a lot of the like weird Soul King particles falling down that Yuhabaha now has. But also, I love the scene where he's unsealed solely because Shunsui's undoing the locks and everything on him, right? And he undoes one of them, and all of a sudden, Aizen's just going like right towards him, and all he did was unlock one thing, and Aizen is up and walking. At least that's how one of the chapters ends off. After that, it's like odd because he doesn't necessarily, you know, do anything to him, even though he kind of could. He could fight if he really felt like it, but to be honest, would he win? Probably. He probably would win, but overall, there might be something more to that, definitely. But I do love that. That's a really good scene, and I feel like the anime almost kind of built on that more, in a way, because, and maybe I'm wrong here, I could totally be wrong, and feel free to correct me, albeit I'm going to ask to please do it politely, but I might be wrong here. But with the anime, when we see Aizen, he's already unsealed in certain places, likely because Yuhabaha was, you know, trying to talk to him and get him on his side. So this could actually explain Aizen just walking. It's just solely because, oh, perhaps if he unsealed something else, right, such as his ability to move, right, Aizen could have fucked with him. Very easy for Aizen to fuck with him. Then again, well, actually, no, they would make sense because he also fucked with Yuhabaha, even though he was sealed. But Aizen could have fucked with him a little bit, and I feel like that might have led on to him walking towards him, because the other seals were probably undone. I might actually be missing a point of him unlocking the others, but I don't think that was it. I'm pretty damn sure he just walks towards Shunsui at the end of one of those chapters. Like I said, feel free to correct me. I might be wrong here. I might have missed a certain detail, and I might have been like, oh shit, right, I forgot about that part. But, you know. But then we get the other Royal Guard fights and everything. The one that Toshiro, Byakuya, and Kenpachi get. This one's really good, because they're fighting this fucking giant dude who feels undefeatable. And Toshiro uses his biggest move, which is like awesome, right? This is a really cool moment for him. And he gets to like age up out of nowhere. I also love that he doesn't want to admit to it, right? He doesn't want to admit to like that being him. So when Rukia and Renji are asking, oh, that must be like Toshiro's older brother, he goes, yeah, I'm Toshiro's older brother, hello. Like, I love that. It's great for, even though this is a serious moment, it's a good way of making a good joke in there. I like that. Kenpachi gets a fantastic moment here, right? But I'm gonna save talking about that for a section later. But Byakuya, I really wish he got more, because he gets his moment with Rukia, earlier, and it's good, right? It helps a lot in properly giving her moment with her Bankai and everything, and having her conquer fear and all that. But with the way this is kind of handled, in terms of just like his screen time and everything, he just gets fucked over. His like most amount of screen time where he got to do shit properly was arguably the start of the war, when he was fighting the dude who had like the fear ability and everything. It feels weird to say that, but that really was it. Like, yeah, we get to see a cool new move from him where he takes all the swords in his Bankai, but he sends them at the opponent. That's really cool. But at the same time, that's it. It feels kind of weird that that's it, when everybody else got to have something really cool to them. And I know we've pretty much seen a majority of what he's had already, but I just felt like we could get a little bit more out of him. It just felt kind of weak to me. But, and I actually don't remember, is there 4? There is, because we have the one that Urahara, Yoriichi, and Grimmjow fight. Grimmjow technically, well, I guess Grimmjow does fight a decent bit, but we have that fight, and that one's weird, because I both like it, and a little bit dislike it because of how it's handled. We'll get to that, of course, but it's an interesting fight. I like it a lot. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know Urahara like had his Bankai in this moment, right? I assumed this was related to the novels, right? Because I was like, okay, to my understanding, anybody who doesn't use their Bankai in Thousand Year Blood War will just use it in the novels. And with that said, I didn't think Urahara was going to use it here, right? I just assumed, okay, it'll be, I don't know, it'll be some shit if he uses a move, uses one of the Hados or something, and handles the situation. No, he uses Bankai. It threw me off completely, and I was very surprised. Pleasantly, though. I was pleasantly surprised, but, you know, that was nice. Yoriichi, I really wish we got to see more of that proper, you know, Shunko form with her and everything. It's just, like, really damn cool, and I do kind of wish we got more of that. But then we get our final battle, and this part's weird, because I really like it, but I do actually kind of dislike some moments of it, where, like, okay, I really like that Orihime gets to be a proper focus with this fight, right? She gets to do something. I love that. I wish Chad got to do something in Thousand Year Blood War. That'd be really cool, but whatever, right? Orihime and Ichigo fighting together against Yuhabaha. That shit's fantastic. It's also doing a really damn good job at making this a very desperate and, like, depressing scenario for the two of them, right? Yuhabaha is broken and is absurdly strong, and this fight feels like there's no winning. So this is where we get to the kind of the problem here, is they introduce the arrow that Ishida has. And here's the thing with this arrow. I'm going to talk about it more later, but it's very poorly introduced, and it's kind of the main focus for why Yuhabaha loses, but it's really unfortunate that it's poorly introduced, because then we get a really cool fight, right, with Aizen, Renji, and Ichigo, and the way this fight is handled is very genius. Like, Kubo legitimately drew this in such a way that even though this general final area was kind of being rushed, this fight was done well in terms of how he drew it, how he handled it, and everything. Might sound weird in terms of me saying how he drew it, but there are certain moments in this fight, because a big part of this fight is Aizen fucking with Yuhabaha. So there are certain moments in this fight where if you pay attention to some of the panels, you notice Aizen fucking with him. Until we get to the moment where Aizen fully fucks with him, Ichigo releases the Getsuga Tensho with his Bankai. He finally gets to use it. It didn't break off, albeit it's going to break off in a moment. And then there he goes, but then he comes back and he grabs Aizen, and it's like, oh no, this could be a very bad scenario. He's back. That didn't do it. We need a proper solid hit on him. And then Ishida uses the arrow, and the arrow stops his powers completely. And it's like, damn, okay, that arrow was just introduced because of this, huh? I'm like, that arrow was introduced very late. Like, this isn't something that's built up before, it's very late. So, kind of makes that scenario worse. But it does lead into a really cool finale of Ichigo, you know, attacking him and everything, and we get to see his Bankai's true form in a way, and it's the original Zangetsu. And something I really like about this, right? Because I've heard people complain about this design. I actually love this for one big reason. Two, actually. One being its massive callback right to the start of the series. I love that. But two, notice the design of the true, like, shikai, right? The true zangetsu. It is almost similar to Tensa Zangetsu. It has the pieces missing in the middle, just like Tensa Zangetsu, and it's completely black. There's no other color on it. It is just solid black. So then you see the true Bankai, right? The true Tensa Zangetsu, and the inside of it is the original Zangetsu. It's really damn cool. I like that detail a lot. It's fucking interesting. Like, it makes a perfect, full loop there, and I love that. It shows almost this true power to his sword with just like the original sword. It sounds corny and goofy, but I don't know. I think that's a neat detail. And then of course we get the time skip, which just here's what happens with all the characters. Here's everybody who's dead. Also, Jushiro died. I forgot to mention him. That was really unfortunate. His death was very fucking fast, but we get to see everybody afterwards, and that's really nice. I do like that a lot. I've heard some people complain about the fact that there's a time skip there, and just like, oh, where are they at now? But I don't know, I like that part. It shows us a lot more about the characters, and hey, if the Hell Arc does happen, we just now know these characters already, right? Such as like Ichigo and Orihime's son, and Renji and Rukia's daughter, right? We know about these characters now, so it's great. As well as we've seen a bit more of the others and everything. I like that part. So I actually have a list here of all the stuff that I generally just want to talk about that I really would like the anime to expand on. I don't really have it listed in order of importance. I do have the top one though, as a least important solely because of how it's handled. Because I think it generally implies itself in a way, but we'll get to that. So, number one on my big list of stuff, I mean, kind of big, is where Yachiro went, right? The lieutenant of Kenpachi. Now, this one is the least important to me for a big reason of it's kind of obvious in a way what this is. I mean, I feel that way at least, right? Because something to note here, right, is Yachiro kind of appears out of nowhere in terms of the backstory, right? She appears all of a sudden talking to Kenpachi, and Kenpachi mentions not even knowing his name. He doesn't even know his sword's name, right? Big thing there. And yeah, there's also the whole thing of his sword having a female voice. There's like that's definitely an interesting detail, right? But then we get the proper 1,000-Year Blood War details. And here's the thing, right? We've fully confirmed, thanks to 1,000-Year Blood War, that Zanpakuto spirits are 100% a thing. This isn't some weird, solely Ichigo thing. This is, no, everybody has a general Zanpakuto spirit to them. This is 100% confirmed, right? So, we could definitely see that as that is a Zanpakuto spirit, right? It's properly manifested into a person and all this. But it's also the fact, and this is what I noticed on like reading it later, because I just felt like rereading Kenpachi's fight in 1,000-Year Blood War. But with this, I noticed that when he calls for Nozarashi's name, right, and he activates the Shikai and all that, it cuts to Yachiro, and after that point, we never see Yachiro again until we get to the Royal Guard fight, where his Bankai is activated because Yachiro tells him about it. That led me to believe, okay, without even searching up any info or anything like that, she's his spirit. She is his Zanpakuto spirit. That feels self-explanatory. In fact, the slowly but surely adding names to like the general voice cast of 1,000-Year Blood War, I wouldn't be shocked if they don't add Nozarashi's name at all, right? Like for the VA list, because I feel like if they do that, if it has Yachu's like VA name, right, it's fucked. It's over. That confirms it. But generally speaking, right, I feel like that one is overall kind of just implied in there. That one's a little bit more obvious. There could be more info towards it, of course, but I think that one's less so than others. Way less so. Next up on the list is the last like 20 or 30 chapters. Those really need to be expanded upon because a lot of the shit that just happens there is very fucking quick. Like, it is insanely quick. And I know the chapters have a decent amount of pages in them and everything, but it still goes by within like at least 4 or 5 chapters. It's fucking crazy. Especially the final battle. The final battle lasts like 4 chapters or some shit. At least I remember it that way. It is not very long. So, I feel like a lot of this needs to be heavily expanded on. Another thing, of course, is Kira's screen time. We talked about him earlier, but he kind of just shows up, deals with the like royal guard that was falling down and all that, and then that's it. And it's just like, oh, okay, that's it. There goes Kira. I feel like he needs to do more. If he's gonna be important here, if he's gonna, not be dead, he needs to do more. Honestly, I really should say the same shit about Byakuya. I mean, Byakuya at least does some shit. He gets some scenes. But he didn't die, then came back, and didn't do that much. Right? He did a few things here and there, but not that much. It feels kind of unfortunate when you do that. So I think Kira is in an even larger boat to that degree of just like, do not bring him back so that he can just kill a few things and then that's it. Like, it feels kind of cheap, right? Because not only didn't he, not die, but there's also the whole thing of he didn't even do much. Might as well have stayed dead, right? That would have at least completed his character. This doesn't really complete him. It's just as simple as that. Next up, this one is honestly probably one of my biggest complaints. So, the start of Thousand Year Blood War, how this whole thing properly starts is Hallibel. Hallibel is captured. What does this mean? Fuck if I know. Because we never, with the exclusion of the novels, which to my understanding aren't even written by Kubo, that said, I'm still going to read them, and hopefully we will talk about them in the next Bleach journey. I definitely want to track that. But overall, Hallibel isn't fucking seen after that point. I mean, we see Nell and Grimjo. By the way, they need way more screen time and way more writing. They get like nothing here. Still, like Grimjo gets the most, but even then he doesn't get that much. They both need a lot, but especially Hallibel. What the fuck is Hallibel doing in this arc? Because it's just like, she's captured, we get to the later stuff, she doesn't like mean anything anymore. That's it. So, I think she needs way more expanding here. Like, this is a cool ass character that you've brought in, and I'm intrigued to see, what you're gonna do with her. And, the anime, of course, might obviously change that, but with the way it's handled in the manga, it's just like, damn, what was her point of being here? She needs way more. Next, another big one, the arrow. That arrow, I'm gonna be honest, right? I think this is a fair opinion to have. That arrow isn't bad. For one part of it, the fact that it exists, it's not bad in terms of an idea. I don't dislike that, especially with the general way it's handled, right? And like from the information of it, right? I don't mind that. It's the problem of when it's introduced. There is a better way of doing this, and that is to build up the arrow. Show it earlier on, build it up, get to the climax, use it, right? If it's built up early on, right? For example, in the anime, if they talk about it in Core 2, boom, that's it. That's all it needs. At least like a decent bit of talking, of course, right? A decent bit of building up. But as long as it gets that, you're done. That's it. That's all the arrow needs. At that moment, boom, it's perfect. That's all we need for it. I think the arrow is fine as a concept, but it's just a matter of introducing it properly. Speaking of the arrow, Uryu, Ishida, whichever name we're going to use, his screen time here, this is supposed to be a big arc for him. Much like how the Arrancar arc was a big arc for Orihime, the Fullbringer arc technically was also a big arc for Orihime and Ichigo, but it also felt like it involved Chad a lot, right? So it involved somebody else in the main cast, much like how Soul Society involved a big part of it being Rukia. a big part of Thousand Year Blood War, for obvious reasons, involves Ishida. The problem is, Ishida didn't really feel like a proper character here to me, because he got a lot, right? Don't get me wrong. He got a decent bit overall, but the problem is, this arc is focusing on him. And a lot of what happens here is we get this, part that happens in Core 1 of the anime, then we get to the manga part, and now he's part of Yuhabaha's army and all this, and we get some scenes with him involving that and him getting the shrift and all that. But then we get to the later point with him where he's talking to Ichigo, and then he fights Hashwald, and after that fight goes down, other than shooting the arrow, that's about it. That's all he gets. It's really unfortunate, and they do a good job at making him, interesting, willing to help his friends, all this. But I think the big difference here between him and the other two is, that got very big arcs, right? Not to shit on Chad, right? I think he did a good job with the Fullbringer arc. I feel like he is generally one of the big focus characters in the main cast there. But the main two of Orihime in the Arrancar arc and Rukia in Soul Society is Rukia in Soul Society gets an insane amount of building as the arc goes on, right? She is a big central focus of that whole last arc. She is great there. Orihime gets this big focus towards her and Ichigo, as well as others, trying to save her, but especially her and Ichigo and this connection they have together. That gets a lot of building there, and I love that. The problem is, Uryu here doesn't have some sort of proper friendship building with Ichigo. There's a bit of it, don't get me wrong, but it's not an insane amount. It's not like what the other two have. So I think a big part of the anime is just giving him way more time to develop all that shit. I think he needs way more time, and if he does have way more time, he might be way better, just generally in this arc. I think I'll enjoy him a whole lot more. And then I have one final point here, and this is kind of a minor thing, but I do kind of want to see more of this, is the Stern Ritters. A lot of them, I would love to see more screen time of. Candace, the dude with the guns, the other people that were with Candace. I don't fully remember everybody's name, but a lot of them I would love to just see more screen time of, because I don't get a whole lot. Candace, honestly, I keep bringing up because she's a genuinely cool one. I do actually like her a lot. The problem with her is she gets off-screened. She's not even killed. She gets off-screened, knocked unconscious, essentially, and then essentially evades the Yuhabaha civil rights beam coming straight down, eviscerating everybody, and it's just like, oh, alright, well, she dodged that, but we don't really see her or anything, right? Baz, right? Baz B, we see him later, right? He's still alive. He gets to do a lot of shit. He gets arguably one of the coolest fights in the fucking arc, and he's easily my favorite Stern Ritter, but, he gets to have that. But, the other Stern Ritters, the zombie Stern Ritter, and the girl with the really large mouth that she can kind of just extend and everything, they get to fight Yuhabaha, but it's off screen, and when we see them again, they are pretty much about to die. They are literally seconds away from death. And it's just okay, what the fuck? Why did we bring them in just so they could die? I think there was actually one more with them. It might have actually been the third one there, the pink haired girl. I don't fully remember. But it just feels damn, I feel like we could have done a whole lot more here with these Stern Ritters instead of just getting rid of them. But overall, even though I may have had some complaints here, I did really enjoy Thousand Year Blood War. It had problems, don't get me wrong, but it makes sense given the fact that it was rushed. And overall, it was still really damn good. I would very easily give this arc a 9 out of 10. Maybe an 8.5. One of the two. I'd have to decide on that a little bit more. But it's definitely a really damn strong arc for me. I liked it a lot. I just feel like there's some things that definitely could be better, and this is not at all to blame Kubo. If he had health issues, I'm not gonna say fuck you to him for having health issues. That really feels unfair. So it's understandable the way it ended up. It's just a general thing of I had some complaints to make, but I trust that these will probably be fixed within the anime. And they don't all have to be fixed. necessarily. I'm not gonna like beg and plead for that. It's just more so, okay, if some of the big ones can be handled overall, right? Halle Bell can get more focus, the Arrow can get more build up, all that sort of shit. That's good. That's good enough. You know, Stormrunner is getting more screen time. It would be nice. That's not mandatory though. It would just be nice. Overall though, still a really damn great arc. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. With that said, I am very excited to start the novels. It'll be a bit till we get to that, but I think I'm definitely going to try before the next talk about video, right? To just get that done so we have something to speak about it with the Bleach journey there. Like I said, to my understanding, I know that's not written by Kubo, from what I understand, but there is some interesting stuff there. These characters I also know are in like Bleach Brave Souls, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. Some gacha games do stuff from some of the spin-off stuff made by other authors, but still, you know, I think it should be just a fun little read that we can talk about and everything. I can discuss my thoughts on the characters, story, all that. Sounds like a good time to me. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. It's still very fucking cold outside. I really wish it wasn't like this. I don't know why this shit is called spring. Because really, it might as well be called winter too. And then also later it gets warmer. But yeah, that'll be it for the Winter Talks About video. So I hope you all enjoyed. Have a great rest of your night, day, whatever it may be for you. And we shall see you all in the proper spring, when it's warm. Actually, I guess it'll be the summer by that point. But overall, it'll be nice and warm, instead of this cold. Farewell, friends.
Square!